Hi, hello, and all that good stuff. My name is Allie. I am the Chaotic Reader, and this is where I talk about book things. And for the third video in a row, welcome to my couch. And I guess welcome to my cat as well, because he's decided to hang out. Okay. Today is another pretty quick video. I'm just here to give you the announcement and the book picks for the Chronically Reading Book Club, which is the new book club that I am hosting this year. It was previously the Chaos Crew Book Club, which I started in like the last quarter of last year, and then we didn't do it. You see, so I started it and I had it all planned and set up in like September, right before I found out that we were going to be moving. We didn't think we were going to be able to get a house. We were just kind of like, hey, we're not going to be able to move for a while. And then we found one and got it, and it all just kind of happened. And then my life just kept kind of imploding upon itself for the last part of 2021, so it didn't happen. I put it on a hiatus, said I was going to bring it back in 2022, and then when I was planning it, I wasn't feeling super passionate about how random it was, and I really want to read more books with chronic illness and disability representation. I am chronically ill myself. I don't have like an official diagnosis because anyone who is chronically ill knows how hard it can be to get a doctor to actually listen to you and to get diagnosis, or for them to figure out what's going on. I have some ideas, but like I'm not the healthiest person, so there's that. And I just want to read more books with that kind of representation, so I decided we're gonna make it the Chronically Reading Book Club, and we're going to read books that feature chronic illness or disability representation. And I have all of the books picked out for February through June. I don't have any co-hosts lined up at this time. I just kind of planned everything and I got the books picked, and I wanted to get the announcement out there. If I don't end up with co-hosts, that's okay too. I, don't mind doing it on my own. But if you are at all interested in co-hosting, you can send me a message on Twitter, on Instagram, wherever. You can comment down below. Preferably, I would like to get in co-hosts that have chronic illness or disabilities, so that we have that kind of representation as we're having discussions about these books. You can also share this. There should be tweets on the Twitter that I'm searching for co-hosts. I would really appreciate it if you would share those around, so I can try and reach some booktubers that represent what we're trying to read here. And yeah, I think it would be cool to have the representation for these discussions. This will be a monthly book club, so we're gonna read one book a month, and there is a Twitter and there is a Discord. We'll have a live show discussion on YouTube at the start of the next month after we read the book every month. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited for these books. I'm really excited for future books. I'm really excited to read more of this kind of representation, and we're gonna have a variety of books, fiction, nonfiction, different fiction genres. It's just kind of gonna be all over the place, looking for representation in different kinds of books, I guess. Currently, I only have a physical copy of one of the books, and that is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, which is going to be our February pick. I thought this was a good pick for February, one, because it's a romance and there's Valentine's Day in February, so it made sense to me. Also, this is just a book that I have been meaning to get to forever. I really only hear really good things about it. It's been on previous TBRs of mine. I haven't even read the first page or anything. I need to get to this, and so this is my push to do so. And because it's a well-known one, I figured people might want to reread it, or people who haven't gotten to it yet can get a chance to get to it. I thought it was just a really good book to start out with, something that people have heard of and that I am really excited to get to. I'll just read you the synopsis, which is what I think I'm going to do with all of our picks because I'm terrible at explaining what books are about. So I'll just let the book tell you itself what it's about. Chloe Brown is a chronically ill computer geek with a goal, a plan, and a list. After almost, but not quite, dying, she's come up with 7 directives to help her get a life. And she's already completed the first, finally moving out of her glamorous family's mansion. The next items: enjoy a drunken night out, ride a motorcycle, go camping, have meaningless but thoroughly enjoyable sex, travel the world with nothing but hand luggage, and do something bad. But it's not easy being bad, even when you've written step-by-step guidelines on how to do it correctly. What Chloe needs is a teacher, and she knows just the man for the job. Red Morgan is a handyman with tattoos, a motorcycle, and more sex appeal than 10,000 Hollywood heartthrobs. He's also an artist who paints at night and hides his work in the light of day, which Chloe knows because she spies on him occasionally, just the tiniest bit. But when she enlists Red in her mission to rebel, she learns things about him that no spy session could teach her, like why he clearly resents Chloe's wealthy background, and why he never shows his art to anyone, and what really lies beneath his rough exterior. So this sounds like the kind of bad boy, good girl trope, and I'm excited. The only thing I'm hoping with this one is I don't like inspiration porn style books. I don't think that's what this is gonna be, but I don't like stuff like that. Like, I'm glad she wants to get a life and she wants to do all these things, but I don't want it to be like, oh, she's pushing through her chronic illness to achieve all these things. I'm not a fan of stuff like that. So I'm hoping that this isn't like this, but I haven't heard anyone say anything like that about it. So I think we'll be good, and I'm just hyped to get to this one. March, I've decided to go with a nonfiction, and I've seen this one around a little bit here and there. I have heard really good things about it. It seems to have pretty good reviews, and it's just one that I'm really interested in. And that is What Doesn't Kill You: A Life with Chronic Illness, Lessons from a Body in Revolt by Tessa Miller. So I will read the synopsis. The riveting account of a young journalist's awakening to chronic illness, weaving together personal story and reporting to shed light on living with an ailment forever. Tessa Miller was an ambitious 20-something writer in New York when, on a random fall day, her stomach began to seize up. At first, she toughed it out through searing pain, taking sick days from work, unable to leave the bathroom or her bed, but when it became undeniable that something was seriously wrong, Miller gave in to family pressure and went to the hospital, beginning a years-long nightmare of procedures, misdiagnoses, and life-threatening infections. When she finally correctly diagnosed with Crohn's disease, Miller faced another battle, accepting that she will never get better. Today, an astonishing 3 in 5 adults in the United States suffer with a chronic disease, a percentage expected to rise post-COVID. Whether the illness is arthritis, asthma, Crohn's, diabetes, endometriosis, multiple sclerosis, or any other curable illness, and whether the sufferer is a colleague, a loved one, or you, these diseases have an impact on just about every one of us. Yet there remains an air of shame and isolation about the topic of chronic sickness. Millions must endure these disorders not only physically, but also emotionally, balancing the stress of relationships and work amid the ever-present threat of health complications. Miller segues seamlessly from her dramatic personal experiences into a frank look at cultural realities inherent in receiving a lifetime diagnosis. She offers hard-earned wisdom, solidarity, and an ultimately surprising promise of joy for those trying to make sense of it all. So I think that this one is going to be just kind of hard-hitting in the fact that it sounds like it's not going to kind of mince words on what it's like to live with chronic illness, but also have some hope to it and some joy that, you know, it's not, I guess, the end of the world, but it impacts us all. So I'm excited to get to this one, and I'm hoping that it is good. Like, I hope all of these are good. April is the month that I am due with baby number 3 here, so I decided that month we're going to read a novel in verse, so hopefully it'll be something quicker for me to get through during that month, since things could be pretty chaotic bringing home a newborn again. So we're going to be reading Two Girls Staring at the Ceiling by Lucy Frank. This novel in verse, at once literary and emotionally gripping, follows the unfolding friendship between two very different teenage girls who share a hospital room and an illness. Chess, the narrator, is sick. But with what exactly, she isn't sure. And to make matters worse, she must share a hospital room with Shannon, her polar opposite. Where Chess is polite, Shannon is rude. Where Chess tolerates pain silently, Shannon screams bloody murder. Where Chess seems to be getting slowly better, Shannon seems to be getting worse. How these teenagers become friends, helping each other come to terms with their illnesses, makes for a dramatic and deeply moving read. So this one, the ratings are kind of middling, but I think it could just be at least really interesting. It should be short, and I think it could give a good view of how people handle chronic illness differently. So I'm interested. I also think it might be really emotional, so I don't know. This one I'm a little unsure about. I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but I'm very interested in it, and I think it'll be a quick read. Then in May, we have another nonfiction, and this one is Disability Visibility, First-Person Stories from the 21st Century by Alice Wong. Well, she's the editor of it, at least. 1 in 5 people in the United States lives with a disability. Some disabilities are visible, others less apparent, but all are underrepresented in media and popular culture. Now, just in time for the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, activist Alice Wong brings together this urgent, galvanizing collection of contemporary essays by disabled people. From Harriet McBride Johnson's account of her debate with Peter Singer over her own personhood, to original pieces by authors like Kaya Brown and Haben Girma, from blog posts, manifestos, and eulogies to congressional testimonies and beyond, this anthology gives a glimpse into the rich complexity of the disabled experience, highlighting the passions, talents, and everyday lives of this community. It invites readers to question their own understandings. It celebrates and documents disability culture in the now. It looks to the future and the past with hope and love. This one seems to have pretty overall high ratings. It doesn't really seem like there's low ratings on this one. So I'm really interested to see if this holds up, if this is as good as the ratings would suggest. And I think it's just going to be a really emotional, sometimes informative. I think it's going to kind of hit a lot of different points and be a really good kind of jumping off point for reading about disabilities. Then in June, we move back to a fiction title, and we're going to be reading Full Disclosure by Cameron Garrett. In a community that isn't always understanding, an HIV positive teen must navigate fear, disclosure, and radical self-acceptance. I swear reading synopsises is the hardest part of making booktube videos. Sometimes I wonder if I even know how to read. Let's try that again, shall we? In a community that isn't always understanding, an HIV positive teen must navigate fear, disclosure, and radical self-acceptance when she falls in love and lust for the first time. Powerful and uplifting, Full Disclosure will speak to fans of Angie Thomas and Nicola Yoon. Simone Garcia Hampton is starting over at a new school, and this time things will be different. She's making real friends, making a name for herself as student director of Rent, and making a play for Miles, the guy who makes her melt every time he walks into a room. The last thing she wants is for word to get out that she's HIV positive, because last time things got ugly. Keeping her viral load under control is easy, but keeping her diagnosis under wraps is not so simple. As Simone and Miles start going out for real, shy kisses escalating into much more. She feels an uneasiness that goes beyond butterflies. She knows she has to tell him that she's positive, especially if sex is a possibility, but she's terrified of how he'll react. And then she finds an anonymous note in her locker. I know you have HIV. You have until Thanksgiving to stop hanging out with Miles, or everyone else will know too. Simone's first instinct is to protect her secret at all costs, but as she gains a deeper understanding of the prejudice and fear in her community, she begins to wonder if the only way to rise above is to face the haters head on. I'm really excited to get to this one. HIV in particular is a disease that people tend to shy away from talking about, but it's a very real thing that very many people live with, and it'll be interesting to see how a teenager handles her diagnosis and the prejudice that comes along with it, and dealing with having to tell people and disclose that information, just all of that. So I think this one could be really good. Again, really emotional. I think a lot of these reads are going to be fairly emotional. I'm really excited for all of these picks. I think at least some of them are going to be really good. I think they all will bring up good discussions for us to have, and I'm just excited. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I will link the Twitter and the Discord. They're going to be in the description. So I hope you will join. I hope at least one of these books captures your interest and you'll read with us. Anyway, that's it from me for now. I will see you guys next time.